This is J.G. Hertzler. You're listening to the official Axanar Podcast.
Welcome to official Axanar Podcast number. What number is this, Alec?
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's 70-something. And let's just say that young midshipmen want to be him and Klingons want to kill him. I'm in here with the producer of Axanar, Alec Peters.
Keith, how you doing? It's been a while.
Doing well. Yeah. How was your holiday? How was Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was nice and relaxing. But boy, it's been going. We've been going nonstop. Yeah, I know. I don't know if you remember Richard Jordan.
Yes,
Richard,
I do. Wasn't he the one who played in Heaven Can Wait?
No.
Was he in?
No, he wasn't.
Oh no, I'm confusing. Waiting for Mr. Jordan, which Heaven Can Wait is based on. No, I don't know who that is.
Okay. No,
I know the name, but I
made his name in the TV miniseries Captains and the Kings. Most people know him as the CIA. He's like the CIA chief or Defense Department chief in The Hunt for Red October. He's the one dealing with
Oh, okay.
That James
I didn't have a name with the face.
Too. And he goes, I'm a politician. That means I'm a liar and a cheater. He's awesome. He was a phenomenal actor. Died young, but anyway, he plays Dirk Pitt, and this is like the first. I think Raise the Titanic was the first Dirk Pitt novel that Cussler came out with, and so they made it. And so in the movie, he's in it. Ann Archer is in it. Was it Ann Archer? Yeah, I think it was Ann Archer was in it. Plays his former flame. Other people you've seen, Alec Guinness was in it. But anyway, I mentioned it, and it has an epic John Barry score. If you're a fan of John Barry, who did most of the early James Bond movies, Dances with Wolves, Born Free, won an Oscar for Born Free, because he's one of the legends in Hollywood in composers. Anyway, and it's a great score. But in it, there's this line, "Thank God for Southby," and anyway, it plays. It's an important line because you find out at the end what that means. But anyway, that's why I say that because I'm like, thank God for Dave Lanyon and Goodney. Thank God. I mean, those two guys, single-handedly saved Axanar. Because they've just laid out so much money to make sure this is a top-notch production, and now we have 19 actors in the can. We just did an insert shot. We did 2 insert shots. I don't know if we've talked about those.
No, I didn't know you were doing any pickups. So,
well, one was accidental. We were shooting Datalist, which is the little film that's going to be coming out hopefully before.
Is that based upon a Datalist class starship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our little. It's kind of like our little homage to, we did it. We created Datalist as a thank you to Dave and Goodney, really. We said, why don't we put them on film? Now we couldn't put them in Axanar. But I was like, why don't we create something? And when they had both flown into the shoot, I guess that was last year or the beginning of this year, I forget. And so we shot, that was last October. And so I literally the week before the shoot, I wrote out a script about the Datalist class because we were naming ships after them, Datalist ships after them.
Okay.
So anyway, we shot it. Great. Then we were, when we were doing stuff for Datalist, we had Paul Osborne, who's one of our regular donors and volunteers. He's just amazing. He had made up blue Cage era costumes. Now, you never see blue Cage era costumes for film.
No.
They always have gold, right?
Right, gold.
We use gold. That's what we use for Axanar, right? So anyway, he made blue ones. So I shot him in a blue one. Again, we were giving for Datalist. It was like Dana has lines and Paul has lines and Jess Hobby has lines, right? We gave a bunch of people lines just as a thank you. And so anyway, Paul has a blue Cage costume, which is great. But he had one for his daughter, right? And his daughter is in Alaska at college, so she couldn't make it. She's been with us since she was an interlude. And so he said, well, I'll bring the costume. Well, his daughter is like, I don't know, 5'8" and thin as a rail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, who am I going to get to fit in that costume? And then I remembered, wait, Nadia Robertson. Nadia was a Star Trek fan who came. She's an actress here in town. Does a lot of background work.
It's like a female Johnny Bravo. She fit the suit.
Yeah, she exactly. and I was like, oh, she's tiny. And because I remember when she showed up at the shoot, the background shoot, I think it was the background for Icarus Maneuver, maybe. But anyway, she was doing background, and I, whenever I'm doing background actors, I always ask about size because like we only have certain size costumes.
Right.
She was like, oh yeah, I'm a size 8 or something like that. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Okay, I think we can fit her in something. So she shows up, and I'm like, I look at her and go, you're not a size 8. You're like a size 0 soaking wet. She goes, oh, I don't know. She goes, I don't know. I buy all my clothes from thrift stores. She goes, I go, well, what? How do you know? You're tiny, So she fit in this blue cage era costume perfectly.
Okay.
And she's got like black hair. She's young but she has like gray streaks in her hair, right?
All right.
So we put her on camera, and Josh Irwin was shooting. We put her on camera, and I'm like, this looks so good. I said, that blue costume, she's a good looking woman, just has kind of a very regal, sophisticated, kind of like Admiralty. She screams Admiralty to me.
Okay.
I said, Josh, we need to shoot this for Axanar. This shot, I was looking through the camera. I was like, this is beautiful. So I run out. I say, everyone take 20. I run out to the lobby and I'm scratching and I'm looking at the script and I go, but here's the line. Here's the line for Axanar. Yeah. This will fit here perfectly. I run back in. I give her the lines. She nails it. And then, so we've dropped it in. So that was our first insert shot. It's amazing.
So you basically cast her in an impromptu casting on the fly to read a line that was in the script that you didn't.
I made it up for the script.
Oh, okay.
So I knew I'm reading the script and I go, here, this is where I'm thinking if she's in charge of the Datalist class ships, then she would be talking at this point in the script when Garth is talking about the plan.
Okay.
So her line is about, we brought something like, and we brought 12 Datalist class hospital ships because we knew there were going to be a lot of casualties, something like that, right?
Okay.
It fit in perfectly. So, and it is, do we need that line in? Does it have to be in? No.
Does it support the story? No. But does it enhance the story? Yes.
The story, it does support the story.
Okay.
It definitely enhances it both visually and kind of adds a little gravity. Like,
okay.
He's talking about, she's like, thousands of people are going to die.
Yeah. Okay.
And we need to be there, right? So anyway, that was the first one. And then the second one was something with Sonia. There's a part of the script with Sonia where her and her crew do something very unusual, I'm just going to say.
Okay.
And Garth talks about it. And it's one of those things that Garth talks about. That's a little, hi, Pee-wee. Oh, sorry. Sometimes Pee-wee gets lonely. And
I thought it was Lieutenant Maress coming in.
So yeah, so that was the door opening and Pee-wee running in.
Nice.
So there's a scene and Garth is like, yeah, that I wouldn't approve of that. And then DeVille, the Ares pilot, is like, I wouldn't want to do that. And then you have Sonia talking about what she did, and it didn't quite connect. It just we were massaging it, and it was just. I felt like there was something missing.
Okay.
I said, here's what needs to be said. We need to put a character in here, the pilot of the Ajax, and this is what the pilot says. So Garth says, that's crazy. DeVille says, that's crazy. And then the pilot of the Ajax says, oh, yeah, we practiced that. Which informs you about Sonia, right?
So who is the pilot of the Ajax?
So we haven't come up with a name yet.
Okay.
But we shot Crystal in that role because Crystal is the pilot of the Ajax in the one clip that we've already released We released that scene. If you remember, the scene starts on Crystal, and then Rack focuses to Sonya.
Yes.
Right? So we released that scene already. I'm like, well, we already have our pilot. So, and Crystal's an actress. She went to school, studied, was on Broadway. Well, perfect. So we shot that scene. Then we shot that and dropped that in. We have 2 more inserts to do. But again, principal photography, all the main actors, 19 actors, all done. It's all laid out in our editorial rough. We're dropping in visual effects shots. We've got a new compositor working on it. It's things are going well. They're taking time, longer than we thought we would.
Okay.
Which is actually, I mean, I made a couple to Dave and Goodney. I said, look, guys, I'll take responsibility. This is taking way longer than we thought. This visual effects we're way behind on the visual effects, but we're trying to take our time. We're trying to do it right. The process is not, whereas for Prelude, it was one guy doing all the visual effects and 3/4 of the shots he just gave us and we dropped in.
Hey, listen, you got a lot of people, both diehard super fans and the detractors whom we don't like to give too much credence to, who have been waiting for this for 10 years. I mean, Prelude came out in 2014. Okay. So let's take the burden off your shoulders right now. I'm going to reflect on another really well put together fan film, and I know you know which one I'm going to. I'm going to talk about the Tresorian intersection from Starship Exeter. You know, their first outing, The Savage Curtain, looked like a fan film. Yeah. Most fan films look like a bunch of fat 40-year-olds playing pew-pew with their buddies on the weekends. That's great, you know, and there's ones that, you know, do a really great job in production, but they don't have any acting skills, and they all look like, okay, we all watched the original series when we were 6, you know, first run. That having been said, you watch the Tresorian intersection, and they released each segment from teaser to act 1 to act 2 to act 3 to the end scene about 6 months apart. And we waited with rapt anticipation for each segment. And I said this, and I say this when I talk about printers, inkjet versus laser. You know, nobody ever looks at a piece of laser print and go, wow, this looks like it was printed really quickly versus, oh, it looked like this took 3 minutes to print. Nobody's going to care a year from now if you took a little longer in post-production to get this right. They're going to look at this and it's going to be timeless trek. Just like they said 10 years ago when Prelude came out, they said 50 years from now, people are going to be finding Axanar indistinguishable from Paramount/CBS produced Trek. So I have no qualms about you taking a little extra time to get the job done right, because I would rather see you take extra time to give us something timeless than it looks like something you rushed. So do what you got to do.
Thanks. I think that's our attitude as well. You know, is that what's the difference between, I mean, we wanted to release it this past summer. We were nowhere close. And that was naive on my part.
Well, last we spoke, you were still talking about sometime next spring. We're still on track for that?
So, well, right now, I think there's actually a bunch of factors that are way on when we release now. One, I've set a deadline because we've kind of wanted to set a deadline and then send it off to the Blu-ray company. Okay. The idea being that we want to have the Blu-ray in the hands of donors the week we premiere this, wherever we premiere it. So is it a premiere at Hollywood at the Grauman's Chinese Theater? Is it a premiere at San Diego Comic-Con? Is it a premiere at Star Trek Las Vegas? Is it at Dragon Con? Wherever, right? It's going to be big news when we're ready to premiere. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to have the Blu-rays out because we don't want any more bullshit from CBS and the Lobes and Lobes lawyers. We don't want to. We're tired of their nonsense. Now, here's the good news. Skydance has bought Paramount.
Okay. Sure. We knew about that.
They're cleaning house.
Okay.
We feel pretty confident that who knows what Skydance is going to do as far as fan films and Star Trek and everything.
Do you think they're going to do what Lucasfilm has done, where they embrace the fan film crowd?
I think they are.
Okay.
Listen. It's not like I've talked to anyone at Skydance. I don't know. However, I've talked to people who understand the big picture. Who are significant players in Hollywood. Who is like, why would Skydance? Skydance looks at Paramount as a distressed asset. $15 billion in debt. They're coming in, and their attitude is, which you can look at all the jobs being filled at Skydance right now. If you go on LinkedIn and look at the jobs, business affairs is the number one job they're hiring for. You know what business affairs is? It's the lawyers who do all the contracts. That's the number one job they're hiring for. Skydance looks at CBS and Paramount, and they're buying a distressed asset. They're not coming and going, oh, you guys are smart. You guys are doing a great job. They're going, you guys have all gotten this company 15. That's Pee-wee. Let me let him out. You want out? Now you want out.
Scratch it at the door.
Get out of here. Thank God. All right. So Skydance is looking at Paramount and they're cleaning out. Whatever they're doing, they're going to take a critical eye to what they're doing. Now, every other person in Hollywood who doesn't work at CBS and Paramount thinks that CBS and Paramount were morons for suing us. I mean, I have never met a person in Hollywood who didn't say, why the hell did they sue you? Why didn't they just take Axanar and do what they wanted with it, which is what we offered them, right? We said, take it. Do what you want.
I mean, literally, it would have been we're always looking for new ideas, new frameworks for shows or movies. And here it is, because you're playing in our sandbox, we can take this from you. And you would have gladly given it to them to say, hey, we would love to see you flesh this out with big studio money.
Yes.
They didn't do that. And the worst part about it, Alec, is they ruined and sullied the 50th anniversary of Star Trek by doing it then.
And it would be naive to think that Skydance, seeing what's gone on the last 10 years, isn't thinking, why the hell are you guys making enemies of your biggest fans? What has that served you? Because let's face it, it is all about ego with CBS and Paramount. The fact is that they're pissed off. Well, isn't that
what the entire entertainment industry is about?
What's that?
Isn't that what the entire entertainment industry is about?
True. But CBS and Paramount are all pissed off that they had to spend 13 months suing us and that we didn't bow the knee to them and go, they thought when they sued me, I was going to crawl up in a corner and sob for my mommy. Well, they didn't know anything about me. That's not who I am.
That's not who Garth is.
I just wanted to make Star Trek. I'm not, if they had come and said, Alec, need you to make some changes, we would have made changes, but they didn't. So Skydance is going to come in and say, look, I mean, what's the most successful model for engagement with fans in Hollywood right now?
Star Wars,
right? What does Lucasfilm do? Embraces fan films, embraces fans.
They have a fan film, not culture. What's the word I'm looking for?
Competition. Well, they used to. They don't anymore.
Oh, they're not doing that anymore?
I don't think so. No.
I don't follow. Like I tell people, I love Star Wars, but I love Star Trek. Yeah, so it's like I don't follow Star Wars as closely.
Yeah. So Lucasfilm embraces their fans, loves them, brings them. How many fans has Lucasfilm brought in to work on Star Wars? They brought in the guys who do the droids. They brought in the guys that did the CD on Luke's face and said, do it better. They're all about engaging their fan community.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is the biggest franchise in the world.
Yeah, I mean the deep fake on Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian was better than the studio version.
And why? Because when they released the one in Mandalorian, the first one, some fan said I can do it better and did it better and released it on the internet. And so Lucasfilm says, you're going to come work for us and do it in Ahsoka, right? Was it Ahsoka?
Yeah. Yep.
in Ahsoka, right?
And it was good.
And it was good, right? Exactly. So this is the thought process of Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm is like, you're doing it right. You're doing it well. We're going to use you. Oh, we need 50 sets of armor for stormtroopers. 501st, get 50 of your guys to give us their armor, right? Lucasfilm is brilliant. Star Trek, CBS, not so much, right? How can we piss off the fans? We're going to pull the license from Creation that's been doing the Star Trek conventions for 30 years, and we're going to give it to Reed Pop, who did 2 events. Reed Pop's an amazing organization. Amazing. I knew the guy running it. I loved it. The New York Comic Con's brilliant, whatever. But they weren't Star Trek guys. So the Star Trek convention sucked, right?
Yeah.
And they dropped them. And so now there's no officially licensed Star Trek convention. There's so much like that is so amateurish. It's so amateurish is the wrong word. It's so oblivious to fans, right? You need to embrace fans.
Yeah. It's like you forget when you're at that level and you're removed from the creative process and it's more about the business and the money, you forget why you're making it in the first place.
Yeah. And look, how many times Star Wars fans are constantly getting copyright strikes for using clips of Star Trek in their videos to promote Star Trek. So you're their YouTube channels promoting Star Trek that are getting copyright strikes from CBS. Oh, because you're not allowed to use our clips. How stupid is that? They're promoting you, for Christ's sake. It's just mind-boggling. So, Skydance, who thinks that Skydance is going to continue doing business the way CBS has messed things up?
I don't know. You know my feeling about this, Alec, because Skydance is basically J.J. Kurt's Trek.
No, it's not. No, because remember,
enlighten me.
No, Skydance only came in for Star Trek Beyond.
Okay.
Kurtzman was not involved in Star Trek Beyond. And if you're listening to the word on the street, they're ready to get rid of Kurtzman. Again, I got nothing against Kurtzman.
From their lips to Roddenberry's ears.
That's another conversation. However, the one objective thing we can all agree on is that Kurtzman Trek has split Star Trek fandom. Some of the stuff is really good. Lower Decks, Prodigy.
Lower Decks and Prodigy are stellar.
But Kurtzman's not involved in those things.
No, I know. But the problem with those, real quick, one sentence, is that you're going to get a lot of fans who love Star Trek who cannot get past the medium of animation and realize that they're missing some of the best Star Trek ever made.
True. So, but the word on the street is that Skydance is trying to find the way to remove Kurtzman from Star Trek. That's the word on the street. I have no horse in that race. It doesn't affect me one way or another. I'm just reporting what I've heard. Now, and they're going to be looking for a new. What does that tell you? Skydance's attitude is we want a new approach. You can't argue that with that statement. Skydance wants a new approach to Star Trek. They haven't said that, but it makes total sense. And what better way to kick off a new approach than to embrace fandom? To go out there and embrace fandom and say, you know what, fans? All right, we're going to find, maybe we give it back to Creation and ask for them to do things different. Or maybe we find another convention, GalaxyCon or whoever, to do the official Star Trek conventions, right?
Well, let me ask you a question while we're in that vein of conversation. You talked about the potential release of the next segments of Axanar and the Blu-ray potentially being at a Creation, at Grumman's Chinese Theater, at Comic-Con. Completion dates aside, whenever it gets done, if you had your druthers, what would be your dream venue for releasing that, regardless of dates? What would be your dream venue for releasing the Blu-ray and Final Axanar?
I'd love to do a Hollywood premiere. I think ideally I would love to do a Hollywood premiere red carpet event.
Okay.
And then follow that up the next week by premiering at San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
And then follow it up 2 weeks later, because this year's, I think, Star Trek Las Vegas is 2 weeks after Comic-Con. And then do another premiere and Star Trek Las Vegas. That's kind of like the trifecta in my mind.
Okay.
And I think, long story short, I mean, to get to the point what I was trying to make is, once Skydance completes their purchase of Paramount, I don't think I'm going to be hearing from the Loeb and Loeb lawyers anymore.
Okay.
Because they're totally antithetical to a productive relationship in any perspective. I mean, basically that is, there's a little guy over at Loeb and Loeb who's just got a bug up his ass about Alec Peters because, whatever, he had to waste his time dealing with Star Trek fan films or whatever, or someone at CBS who's just, pissed off that whatever. So, and they're all going to be pissed off when we release Axanar. Let's be honest. If they're still working at CBS, or employed by CBS, they're going to be pissed off at the next 2 episodes of Axanar. Why? Because they're not shit. They're not bad. They don't look like fan films, right?
Right, exactly.
And that is what they don't want, right? CBS right now doesn't want good quality fan films. So as long as you look like a fan film, they're okay.
Sure, because then it's competition. It's competition for the lackluster stuff they're doing now.
Right. So they don't mind you breaking, they don't mind Vic Mignogna going 50 minutes on his last 3 episodes after the guidelines. They don't mind Josh Irwin doing 45-minute or hour-long episodes because they look like fan films, good fan films. I'm not knocking them, but they don't have big budgets. They don't have big stars. They don't have right. It's just a different production. They're not doing what, I just got a message today from one of the people who works on Star Trek, who said, "Hey, have you seen Unification?" And he goes, "Have you seen our fan film Unification?" And I was like, "Yes."
This is somebody from Otoy?
Yes. No, not from Otoy. From who worked on Star Trek.
Okay.
And anyway, I laughed when he said that. I said, "Thank God there's finally another fan film
that's high quality.
Live in the Axanar, tier of fan films." I said, "I'm all for it."
What's really funny, just to talk to that for a quick moment. I have had so many people who, like, the extent of their knowledge of Star Trek is the original series and the one with the whales. These are people who are not Trek fans, but they all of a sudden, whatever was in the zeitgeist 30 years ago, they feel qualified to talk about Trek. They're all absolutely convinced that this is Kirk in the afterlife welcoming Spock as he's crossing over. And I read, and this is coming from Otoy and their people, that you remember in Picard season 3 in that space station with all of Starfleet's greatest secrets and the Kirk was cryogenically frozen. The Kirk that we see in Unification is a resurrected Kirk in the future from the Enterprise J, like Daniels level people from Enterprise, sent back to be with Spock at the end, not them in the afterlife. It's a resurrected by the Enterprise J and sent back. And I was like, whoa, that is completely antithetical to what I was telling everybody. Oh, that's Kirk in the afterlife. No. I was wrong too.
That's it. Yeah, that's interesting. By the way, I don't want to in no way diminish other fan films.
No, not at all. I think the better production values, like Prelude, like Axanar, like Tresorian Intersection, and like Unification, they need to be propped up and supported so we get more of them. Absolutely. And a quick side note, I want to say this so I don't forget to say it. Here we are in December of 2024, and this past year we had an excellent season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy. Everybody who loves Prodigy has to watch Netflix, Prodigy on Netflix again and again, both seasons 1 and season 2, because the people at Netflix are not greenlighting season 3. But if there's a bump in traffic and there's an interest shown in it, that might just be a little bit to put it over the edge to say, maybe we'll give season 3 a shot. So if you haven't watched season 2 a second time yet, watch Star Trek Prodigy season 2 and let's get back to Axanar.
Yeah. Well, so back on the Axanar track. So I think releasing next summer works in our advantage because the Skydance deal will be done by the end of Q2, I'm told.
Okay. Oh, when will Datalist be introduced?
Well, I'm
before Axanar or after?
Oh yeah. We were hoping to do it in December, but I don't want to say that because I don't know that that's going to happen.
Like now, this December?
Yeah. No,
is it done or is it close to done?
It's in post-production.
Was it shot on the Ares Bridge?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Did you do any modifications to it to make it look like a different ship?
No, it was shot on the Ares Bridge and it was shot on green screen. And so that's holding us back is the compositing. So, but that's going to come out. So the benefit, so Datalist will be out. J.G. Hertzler's Night Before Christmas will be out.
Mm-hmm.
We just released the teaser trailer about a month or so, 6 weeks ago. That was a big hit.
That was great.
And then for next year, I'm saying summer because I'm pretty confident. I mean, I'm setting a May 1st deadline that it's in the can, finished, cut, in the can, off to the Blu-ray printers May 1st.
Okay.
That's our drop dead deadline. Now, when we release it and everything will depend on a lot of factors. But the factor I don't think we've got to worry about, which we right now we have to worry about because they're just being total assholes to us, are not dealing with the lawyers from CBS.
Okay.
And instead have some more enlightened people at Skydance who at the very least are hopefully will say, yeah, you do your thing. Just be cool. Right. That would be a huge win. Mm-hmm. Just to get the Red Dawn ending. Go with God. And the original Red Dawn, not
I got
you. Not the rehash. That was
I never saw the Korea invasion Red Dawn.
It was mediocre. I mean,
so the first one was Russia and Cuba, and the second one was what?
North Korea.
North Korea and China.
Come on, give me a break. No, not even China.
Not even China, just North Korea.
North Korea, because they had to release the movie in China, so they changed it.
From
China to North Korea.
I didn't see the second one. You know what? The second Red Dawn is kind of like the reboot of RoboCop. It's almost never on any of the cable channels. Anytime I see Red Dawn or RoboCop, it's always the original versions from the 80s.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
Total Recall too.
Yeah. And
Total Recall, RoboCop, and Red Dawn are all ones that anytime I see them, I'm like, oh, is this going to be the new one? And like the reboot's never shown.
Yeah. It's interesting. The reboot to which one? Total Recall is actually kind of interesting.
How so?
Yeah. Well, one,
because I did that. That's what I finally did see, and I'm like, I was holding out hope for this. So the Schwarzenegger version is much better.
Well, the Schwarzenegger version is just classic 80s cheese. I mean,
sure.
In a way, as Red Dawn is to a certain extent, but it's compelling. I don't know what it is about the original Red Dawn that's so compelling. Also, you have that amazing cast. Patrick Swayze, young Patrick Swayze, right? Mm-hmm. Young C. Thomas Howell, young Charlie Sheen. I mean, it was just. It was a great movie.
Or as my wife insists on calling him, Tommy Howell. I'm like, I have never in my 50 some odd years ever heard anybody call him Tommy Howell. No, but when The Outsiders was out, she maintains that everybody called him Tommy Howell. I'm like, never.
No. But anyway, there's a lot of great movies like that in that era. And, I certainly think Red Dawn. Ron O'Neill was the Cuban commander.
Mm-hmm.
Who did such a wonderful job. So anyway, that's our nostalgia. And Predator. How can we forget Predator?
Nostalgia isn't what it used to be.
Yeah. So Axanar is in post-production. There's a lot of great stuff happening. There's a lot of stuff happening.
And all the principal photography is now done for Axanar.
Done. It was done. Yeah, it was done earlier in February. We finished it.
Okay.
So 19 actors.
And is there anybody that you haven't revealed that you can tease a little bit? I know there's a famous Klingon in there who's a really big get, and you're playing those cards very close to the vest. Anything you can tease at all?
I really can't because well, we've kind of revealed one.
Which one?
Well, I'm not going to say. Like, we haven't said it, but we've revealed it.
In the trailer?
We revealed who Sonya is, right? We haven't said who she is, but anyone who pays attention, who saw the little clip that I mentioned earlier.
Okay. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that because I may have glossed over that.
Yeah. So, but other than that, we've really kind of kept everything under wraps.
She's not Janice Lester, is she?
No. No. We had an interesting, by the way, that was an interesting conversation.
Do tell.
Well, the conversation was about someone was arguing that there are no female captains in Starfleet at the time of Kirk because it says so in Turnabout Intruder. And
yeah, that was a really bad bit of writing.
Right. And I said, this is the point at which we retcon TOS. Like, no, I don't think there's any person who would realistically say it's canon that there are no female captains. Because
maybe Janice Lester was just deluded enough and couldn't pass the test, kind of like Captain Merrick and in Bread and Circuses, where he just couldn't pass the psycho simulator test, and neither could she. And so she tried to pass it off. Oh, they didn't want me because I was a woman.
Right. Right. Because let's face it, Gene Roddenberry, who gave us all sorts of egalitarian tropes that he was pushing of equality and human achievement and everything. He was pushing the boundaries of what was allowed in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not realistic to now. Granted, Star Trek is not our future, right?
Tell Kurtzman that
Star Trek is a future. It's not our future.
No.
Because we know that because in the 60s we didn't have orbital bomb platforms going off on Saturn V rockets. We know all this.
That was the year I was born.
So my point was, there are things in Star Trek that we can just say, no, that was not what was true. That was not canon.
I literally just had a conversation about this with somebody who had said Kurtzman was so convinced that this is our real future, not like a future, not what we'd like it to be. So convinced that this is a real future. He had to retcon the dates of the Botany Bay and Khan from the 90s to now, so that he could line up with the real history. Really? Come on.
Which proves that the Kurtzman universe is an alternate universe. It is not the prime timeline. We know that for a fact.
Nope.
Yep. And that is and what's his name? Akiva Goldsman said that. He basically said that we've changed it. It's not the same. So anyway, and also Erica Hernandez was the captain of the NX-02 Columbia.
Correct.
So, you can't tell me that. Now, granted, that was not Starfleet. That was Earth. But you can't tell me all the female captains in Earth Force are going to, all of a sudden we become a federation and you're going to what? Tell them they can't be captains?
But I really want to know what happened to the Columbia, because you remember, do you have Doug Drexler's Ships of the Line calendars?
Yeah.
He did a gorgeous picture of the NX-02 Columbia, like beached in the sand on some desert planet.
Yeah. Well, did you in the David Mack books, Destiny?
Yes.
Which is a trilogy.
Yep.
They talk all about that and the origin of the Borg, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, I talked to him about that once, and it was pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, the point we were making is, look, that's not canon. There are female captains in Starfleet, and we feel that way because we are a different society now. And that is not, no one is willing to copy and paste that into the future, even if it's not our future, if it's a future. That's not what Gene was saying.
Correct.
And certainly Enterprise, I think, rightly straightened that out. Erica Hernandez was a ass kicker, by the way.
She was.
I love that actress in that role. I thought she was. When I was reading the Destiny novels, I totally had her in mind for it. It was great. So anyway, so anyway, long answer to your question is no, we're not revealing any of the actors. It was so funny. the new compositor we brought on board, he was like, "Hey, was that so-and-so?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh my God." He's like, I would listen to that guy paint the walls white. I said, "Tell me about it." I mean, yeah, but I don't want to reveal any of that because, all that's going to come.
Hey, listen, some surprises are good.
Yeah.
Any aspects of the story that have not yet been revealed that you might tease a little bit?
No, I mean, I think the story of Axanar is out there, and I'd rather everyone just watch it and be surprised. I mean, even to this day, people who discover Axanar are like, "Oh, is that Tony Todd?" Rest in peace. Isn't that Richard Hatch? Holy shit. People are amazed, and I want them to continue to be amazed.
Gary Graham,
another rest his soul. We want people to have that reaction again.
Okay.
And that's
fair, because you know what, that was how I reacted before I met you, and I stumbled across Prelude back in 2014, which is why Benjamin and I had you on Computer Talk Radio on the Nerdcast to begin with. So and I think there's lots of people who have had that reaction, and we want to have that reaction again. We want to. I think when Axanar comes out, we want people to just be blown away all over again. I mean, let's face it. If you go back 10 years, when Axanar came out, it changed people's perceptions of fan films. And one of our big donors, Norman Lau, who does the podcast, said Axanar is a movement, and it was. It was, and this is one of the things CBS has tried to kill so much. They don't want it to be a movie. They don't want fans to tell them what they want. Right.
CBS wants to ram whatever Star Trek they want down your throats, and that's why, CBS officials have said, "Well, we don't make Star Trek for the fans," which is just a stupid thing to say. And yet you always have to take care of your fan base, right? And Axanar does. That's where Axanar is about. Love of fandom, and it's about love of our mutual love, Star Trek, right? And it's giving fans what they want, and and so many fans, of course, the number one thing you read on the comments in YouTube under Prelude to Axanar is, "Hey, why didn't CBS bring these guys in rather than sue them, right? Why didn't they let these guys make Star Trek?" Now, I in no way, shape, or form am ever advocating to put me in charge of making Star Trek for TV. That's not it. That's not what we do. We did something very, very different. But we did something that CBS can't do, that Paramount can't do. Let's just talk Paramount moving forward. Paramount can't do what we do, because what we do is really for the base.
Sure.
Right? It's not we're not trying to get new fans to Star Trek into the movie theaters like JG did.
Okay, but to your point, dream scenario. If someone at the big studio, Skydance, Paramount, whomever, were to come to you and say, "You know what? We've reevaluated this, and we really like the story. We like where it slots in with the whole Star Trek timeline." Two options, one or the other. Would you rather do a 2+ hour big budget feature film of Axanar, or would you rather do 7 seasons of a Star Trek series based upon Axanar from beginning, build up of the war, 4 years war?
Yeah, of course.
Up through the.
That's what you would want to do. Yeah, because all the smart money's in TV these days anyway.
Okay.
If you asked anyone in Hollywood, would you rather be the producer of a 2-hour, $200 million Star Trek movie, or would you rather do 7 seasons of Star Trek on TV? I bet you most would say they do 7 seasons of Star Trek on TV. The $200 million movie, first of all, it's not going to be successful financially because Star Trek has never broken $500 million.
That's true.
So it's not going to be successful financially. Let's just be clear about that. 7 seasons of Star Trek, that is a money machine. That is like an ATM printing money every single day for everybody. I mean, let's face it. Patrick Stewart and his cast are still getting residual checks from Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they will until they die. So yeah, but I think the point I was trying to make is that if they dream scenario, they come and say, Alec, we want you to make Axanar. I'm not a Hollywood producer, right? I'm not.
No, you're not, but you're immersed enough in this slice of Star Trek. Let's just call it that little segment of Star Trek. And you started it with a passion for learning about this character, who's Captain Kirk's hero, all the aspects of it that we've talked about ad nauseum. Would you want a job being like a production consultant to say, hey, Garth would do this, or, you know,
you may put me in,
Kenji would do that.
Give me the story credit for X or whatever. Yeah. Or make me the Canon czar. Tell you what's Canon. And my first job is I'm going to tell you all this, the timelines in the multiverse of Star Trek. We're going to canonize the multiverse. But anyway, I think the important thing is that Axanar is making classic Star Trek for hardcore Star Trek fans.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we can make a bridge that looks like our bridge.
Right.
Whereas Strange New Worlds makes an Enterprise bridge that looks like a disco. Okay.
Well, I mean, the reality of it is the Ares bridge looks like the immediate precursor to the Constitution class bridge.
Yeah. And look, you could argue it looks a little more advanced than that. It looks different, right? The whole idea is that you immediately know you're in the era you're in. You're in the TOS era. You can tell immediately. But it looks different. The colors are different. The chairs.
Yeah, you've got grays and blues instead of the bright reds and, the primary colors that NBC wanted to sell, that NBC and RCA wanted to sell TVs with.
That's right. We're right. So we're able to do that.
And I knew that because my grandmother worked for RCA.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. We can do what we do because we're only doing it on hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not doing it for tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our sets, listen, add all the money that the donors put in to build that studio, to build those sets, to do all that. It's $1 million, a little over $1 million. When they built the Discovery sets, they spent like $100 million on the sets.
Mm-hmm.
Just the sets, right? Let alone how much they cost to rent the studios. So we're doing something different for a different audience that we're able to do. Now, the ideal scenario is Skydance comes and says, hey, you know what you're doing. People love Axanar. We get it. Look at we've read all the comments. Everyone loves what you're doing. Keep doing it. And we're going to put you on StarTrek.com. How's that? Right? Yeah. We own the copyright to everything you have. Yeah, fine. Go take it, right? Put it on. It's yours. Just let us make it, right? That would be like the ideal. I would love to do more stories in the Axanar universe. I would love, we've talked about all sorts of, I've talked to my VFX team after they saw unification was, that's what we need to do. We need to do early Axanar, and we need to de-age you and Sam to have another.
And that would be, and the tools are there now to do that.
Yeah, it's getting better and better. We just want to do what we want, what we're doing. We're not interested in making money off of it or whatever. We're just interested in kind of, hey, can we just pay our bills and not? I would like at some point to stop putting, 6 figures of my own money into Axanar and just kind of break even. That would be nice.
Well, okay, let me ask you this, Alec. We're not going to get any secrets. We're not going to find out anything revealed in advance. But there's been a teaser trailer so far. Yeah. Will there be a full trailer prior to the release of this? And will it come around the time that Datalist is released?
No. Datalist will be released sometime between the end of December and the end of January. That's my guess.
Okay, so Datalist we're definitely seeing this winter.
Yeah, absolutely. This winter you're seeing Datalist.
Okay.
Once we're finished with Axanar, So let's assume we hit our May 1st deadline,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes off to the Blu-ray printers.
Okay.
We'll make a trailer at that point.
All right.
I don't know what that trailer is going to be like, right? I let's face it, the Prelude trailers were amazing. I go back and look at the Prelude trailers and I go, oh fuck, I'd watch that film, right? It's listen, I went back and watched our 10-year-old video asking for money for the Prelude Kickstarter where we raised 100.
Sure.
I watched that video and which I edited, right? Mark Edward Lewis literally took 3 days to teach me how to edit, and I edited the trailer for that Ask video for the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it again. I was like, where do I send my money? I want to see it.
It was so good you convinced yourself.
I convinced myself. It was so good. There were, so looking back at things that we did, we want to replicate the vibe. There's so much talk about vibes, right? We want to replicate that vibe, that excitement of fans. And the wonderful thing is, you have a lot of Axanar fans. Let's say, face it, most Axanar fans are like, at best case, Axanar fans are, hey, we're looking forward to it when it comes out, right? And there are a lot of fans who are like, yeah, if it comes out, great. And then there's some fans who are like, it's never coming out. Okay, wherever you fall on that spectrum, you're going to be so happy when Axanar comes out. You're going to be excited. You're going to be like, you're going to be like, oh, it's worth the wait.
I was excited when the interlude came out. I was excited when that teaser came out with, with Crystal at the helm of the Ajax.
Yeah, and there, and even the people who thought we were never coming out go, oh well, they actually did it. Well, it was pretty awesome. And the haters are going to hate it because they're all convinced that I'm a scam artist. So they're going to hate it when Axanar actually comes out.
Yeah, sorry, you're and what do we call them? Not an amateur, not a professional, a prosumer. A prosumer wants good quality, but it takes a long time. Sorry, it took a decade. Here it is finally.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, we're excited about it, and we want to give it our best because we want to create that excitement again. Mm-hmm. And I think my hope is that the new owners of Paramount, we won't be able to call them Skydance. We'll have to call them Paramount. Mm-hmm. The new Paramount will be like, attaboy, go get it.
You hope. Do we know definitively, where their tastes and interest towards the fans lie?
No.
I guess we'll find out.
We are going to find out.
All right.
I think the smart money is on, there's a new sheriff in town.
I like it. Alec, is there anything else we want to share with our friends and fans until the next time we talk?
Yes. First of all, the Axanar store is open. Go to axanar.com, and on the upper right corner, go to store, and you can buy all sorts of Axanar swag on our site.
And they make great holiday gifts.
Great holiday gifts. So, and you can always contact me, Alec at axanar.com. We're on Facebook. Please follow us. And there you go.
All right. You've been listening to official Axanar podcast number 70-something. It's one of the last ones of the year. We may talk before the end of the year. This could be the last one. There could be other things we are talking with Mark or other cool people like Jeff. We'll find out. Stay tuned, folks. In the meantime, you've been listening to the official Axanar podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Live long and prosper.